see my screen? Please confirm. Good evening, Navya. Okay, guys. Yeah. So today we are going to discuss about section F, the last section of part 1. Okay. So today I expect all of you, we are only 4. Yeah. Today only 4 students have joined. So we can have maximum interaction as this is going to be a theory concept. When you interact, you'll remember this more. Okay. So can I expect all of you to be interactive today? All 4 of you? Yeah. What about Kriti, Kavita, and Shravya? Okay, guys. So for whichever question I ask, to the best possible extent, whatever you know, you tell me. Okay? Yes. So today we will be starting with section F, technology and analytics. Okay? So technology and analytics, to a far extent, it's a very simple topic and a basic topic. Okay? All of you have heard of these concepts somewhere. You already know these concepts. Okay? So what are we going to do today? We are just tuning it in exams perspective. Okay? That is all what we do in section F. Yes. So, the important topics that we will be covering is information systems. Information systems mainly deal with how organizations, departments interact among themselves. That is what we study in information systems. And accounting information system. So we know that accounts is very complex in any given company, isn't it? And how are they going to manage such complex accounts through information system? Then comes database. Database is nothing but organizations will have a lot of data. Okay. And how is this data? We are not speaking about the small proprietors and all. We are speaking about the companies. Okay. Companies, as we all know, let's take Amazon and Flipkart for that case. So how much data they will be having? They'll be collecting data from millions together of customers, isn't it? So such huge data, how can a company manage? That is what we study in database and database management system. Then comes ERP. ERP, already we have discussed, it's enterprise resource planning. Okay. Then comes enterprise systems. Later, data warehouse. So data warehouse, mart, lake, and enterprise performance management, all of them are related to how data is being managed. Okay. Then comes data governance and data lifecycle. Now we came to know there are companies who get large influx of data. When such is the case, they obviously have to govern their data, right? None of the data should be thefted. So let's take Amazon for that example. They have their customers' personal data, email IDs, phone numbers, and so on. Data governance is required so that the personal information of customers are not stolen by any other third party, and at the same time Amazon doesn't miss any of its customers data. Okay, so in spite of having millions together of customers, whatever you order, exact at least with 99% accuracy, same order what you have delivered, you will be receiving it, isn't it? So that is the accuracy they follow. And what are the governance systems they are following, we'll come to know. Then comes data life cycle. Later, cyber attacks and defenses. Cyber attacks and defenses, most of it in yesterday's class only we have covered. We'll just look into any new cyber attacks and defenses to study. Then comes technology-enabled finance transformation. Later, artificial intelligence and cloud computing, the general topics again. And later we have the blockchain and smart contracts. And then data analytics and mining. So this is very much important. Okay, how to analyze the data, and data mining is even more complex. Okay, that is done by data scientists. Then sensitivity and simulation analysis. So this is a statistical analysis that we do. Later we have visualization tools such as graphs to analyze the data graphically. Okay, Then transaction cycles. So transaction, purchasing, the production, purchases, sales, and the accounts, all of them are transactions that we do. And what are the cycles that we study in transaction cycles? Okay, so we'll start with information systems. Okay, yes. So now what is meant by this accounting information system? Okay, so these are records and they manage the financial data across all value chain activities. Information system in the sense, for that example, let us take production department. So production department, they want information from the sales department saying how many units need to be produced and how much to remain in ending inventory. Okay. And again, from production department, again, you will have to send information to the purchasing department for the requirement of raw material. Okay. So these are the information that you need to circulate among the organizations, departments. And you follow information systems. Information systems in the sense how information, how does a department get an information, and who does it want to communicate to? Okay, that's information system. And here we mainly focus on accounting information system. Okay, accounting information system is all about how do we get the data from, and how do we report the data, how do we analyze the data. The complete accounting cycle, you will be automating it. That's accounting information system. Before that, we'll be looking into value chain. Okay, so now can anybody tell me what is meant by value chain? In your own simple words, what is meant by value chain? I want everybody to give your answers. What is meant by value chain? You can unmute and answer. You can just connect how you can create value to your customers and the supply chain concept. So that will be your value chain. So what's meant by value chain? Okay, guys, at least tell me what is value creation to your customers? What are value adding activities? You can either define or you can give me an example. Both are fine. What are value adding activities? How do you define value adding activities? You know the concepts or not, guys? So nobody knows what is value adding activities. Seriously? Okay. So value adding activities are nothing but the activities for which customer will be willing to pay for. Okay. So when they see specific features in a product which they feel that is value adding for them, only for those features they will be willing to pay for. So those are value adding activities. Okay. Now when it comes to value chain, it's a combination of value adding activities and supply chain concept. So what is supply chain? Supply chain is the flow of goods starting from raw materials till how do we deliver the products to customers. That's our supply chain. Value chain is you will identify what are the activities that are adding value to the customers, and then you will be framing a list of those activities into your value chain. So that consists of inbound logistics, how you carry raw materials into your warehouse, then operations. Later, outbound logistics, followed by marketing and sales, later customer service. These are all regarded as primary activities. Then comes supporting activities. In supporting activities, it involves procurement, which is nothing but purchasing raw materials and other required assets to the organization. Then infrastructure. Later, technological development and HR management. Later comes supply chain. Supply chain, as I told you, starting from raw material, whatever you purchase, till you deliver the goods to the customers, everything is a part of supply chain. Okay, now you would require a well-designed accounting information system to improve your supply chain efficiency. Okay, whenever it is an automated information system, you will easily come to know what are the sales orders and what are the number of goods that needs to be produced, what needs to remain in inventory. Everything will be very well known. Okay, and in your accounting information system, you can extend it such that when your suppliers, raw material suppliers, they can have access to your accounting information system. Okay, so they can access when you guys will require the raw materials, they can get the access of that. Okay, and also your customers. Some companies also have given their accounting information system access to the customers. Customers will come to know what is the ending inventory left in the company, how many goods they will be getting if they order. Okay, that's supply chain. Everybody clear with these concepts? You can show me your thumbs up or typing S. Okay. So next up, it's about the automated accounting information system. Okay. So now what will be the key elements of automated accounting information system? Automated is nothing but when you start entering your data, it will automatically calculate what is the ending inventory that you would require and what will be the economic order quantity, EOQ. What will be the economic order quantity you need to place an order for? Everything will be automatically calculated. That's automated accounting information system. And what are its key elements? So first up, we have chart of accounts. Okay. Chart of accounts is a list of general ledger accounts. In accounts, you will come to know, right? There is a list of ledgers that we will be maintaining. Okay, purchases, production, sales, for each of them, and bank, cash, for each of them, ledger accounts will be there. And a list of ledgers will be there in the chart of accounts. If you have used Tally Prime software, you will come to know. There also you will be getting this chart of accounts. Okay, Tally Prime software we will be using for accounting, for data entry and accounting. Usually auditors and CA use this, Tally Prime. Okay, then comes master files. Master files is where all your ledgers will be stored. Okay, all your ledgers related to all the departments. Okay, in a word, if I have to say, all the important files of the organization is present in its master file. Okay, and to this master file, any adjustments, any updations, you need to update that info in your master's file also. So it acts as a permanent information system for us. Then transaction files. We know this transaction, as in how each and every transaction occurs, it will be recorded. Then comes the block codes. Okay, block codes is nothing but in accounts, we will be using the numbers to access the assets, liabilities, expenses, revenues. There are numbers to locate them. Okay, and for example, if you remember, for revenue recognition, you will be using ASC 606. Like that, for everything, there will be numbers. So that is called as block codes. Then comes transaction codes. For each and every transaction that took place, there will be a code for it. So that if you need any transaction data, you can locate it. Then comes sequence codes. So when you maintain the records in a proper chronological order, you will be entering the data. So that gives you a sequence of codes and it ensures traceability and audit trail. That means traceability of information. So where did we get this transaction from? So you can trace it to its source documents from the transaction that you have entered in your accounts. You can trace it back to the bills or receipts. That will be source document from which you have entered the data. That is your sequence codes. Okay. So next up, for automated accounting information system, you would require some input devices. Input devices means how do you input the data into your accounting information system so that it will enter and store the data. How do you input it? It will be usually through keyboards and mice, the barcode scanners. Barcode scanners you will have seen in DMarts if you have visited. They'll scan whatever products you have bought and they'll generate a bill, right? Those are barcode scanners. For every sale, they need not enter it manually. If they scan the barcode, that will be recorded. Then point of sale systems. Again, these are systems that help us record the sales that has happened. Then tablet computers and the microphones and web cameras. Okay, these are some of the input sources. Then comes your source documents. So it is maintained as backup of all transactions recorded and it acts as an original proof. Okay, so original proof will be the bill that you generated for whatever sales or purchases that you have done. There will be a bill, right? That acts as an original proof. Then comes outputs. So in outputs, you will have printed reports. Suppose you need any production data or purchases data or sales data, you will locate it in your computer system and you can take printed reports of them. So tax reports you can take, accounting information reports you can take. So those are printed reports. Then comes audio output devices. So if needed, your financial information will be read out. In an audio output device, it will be read out. Then comes video output device similar to that. Then key output reports. So what are the key output reports we will be looking for in AIS? So that is financial statements, your trial balance and the reports, the gross loss or gross profit reports you'll be getting. Then customer aging reports and your inventory reports. Okay. Then comes the management reports and the tax reports. These are various reports that we will be focusing on. Okay. Yes. So next up, database and DBMS. So what's the full form of DBMS? Can anybody tell me? What is the full form of DBMS?
Ma'am, it's a database management system.
Perfect. Very good. Okay. So now we'll come to know what is the use of this DBMS. Okay. So now, what is a database? Okay. So it's a collection of data. So now when we are speaking about the database, you can take an example of some of the companies such as Amazon and Flipkart, because these are the organizations that deal with a massive amount of data. Okay, you can take them as an example and understand this topic. Okay, now database basics will be, so what is this database? They are the organized collection of data. Okay, and whatever data that you enter into your computer systems in an organized format, you will be collecting the data, right? That will be your database. Then accessible, updatable, and analyzable. Okay. Usually companies will be using softwares to enter all their data. And the data that they enter and record, that acts as the database. And it is combined in one location and eliminates the redundancy. Redundancy is nothing but repetition of data entry. Okay. So now as all these systems are automated, none of the, initially before introducing the companies to this automated AIS, what used to happen is sales department will maintain their own reports. Production department their own reports separately. All of the departments, even though you know that they all are interrelated to each other, but everybody used to maintain their reports separately. That used to cause this redundancy of data, repetition of data entry. Now, when this automated system came, we started using the softwares where if sales department enters its data once, the sales information will not be entered by any other departments. It's already available. Only the add-on data we can enter into the information system. So it eliminates the redundancy. Then comes relational database. So data stored in the tables, the relationships defined between the tables. Okay. So when you start entering your company's data in an Excel sheet or so, you'll be framing tables. Okay. When you frame the tables and when you use the formulas, you will be getting a proper report of whatever data you have entered. It will be very easy to analyze data when you prepare them in a tabular format, when you frame formulas on them and calculate them. Okay. That will be relational database. So now here you will have to note down this field. Field is nothing but the single data attribute. Okay. And then the record. Record will be one row of your information. Assume that you are preparing an Excel sheet of all the employees of the company. Okay. When you frame the data or the Excel sheet for all the employees of the company, assume that there are 100 employees, and for 100 of them, in 100 rows, you are entering all of their data. Okay. So their employee number, their salary package, date of joining, their personal documents, everything. So one employee's data, one row of data for one employee, that acts as a record. Then file or table. File will be collection of records. Okay, file is, now you prepared an Excel file, right? Excel sheet. So it contains data of 100 employees. That acts as a file. And within the file of 100 employees, you can take one employee's record. Okay. And in that one record, one of the cell in which you are entering the data will be your field. Okay. And relational database, it's a very organized form of entering the data. Then database keys. So here we mainly have two types of keys, primary key and a foreign key. So here, primary key in the sense, that's a unique identity. For employees, you can consider their employee numbers. Okay, employee number will be there. Employee identification number will be their primary key. Suppose you can also take names, but name doesn't act as a primary key because there can be two or more people with the same name. But employee number doesn't repeat for anybody. That will be very specific, unique identification for employees. That acts as their primary key. Then comes foreign key. Okay, so what happens in foreign key? So this is the key you can use to link one table to another. Okay, when you're practicing Excel sheets, you'll come to know this better. There are sheets where you will have to link between one table to another. And how do you link and merge the tables? I'll give you a small basic understanding of this. Suppose there is table 1 and table 2. In table 1, you have primary data of all your employees. And in table 2, you have all the salary details, whatever you have paid to your employees. Now, you want to review it in a combined table. Okay. Now, to combine a table, what we do is we will identify what is the common key in both of the tables, which will help us join or merge the tables. Now, this foreign key will be, let us say, for example, if it is employee name. Employee name is common in both the tables. Okay. Now, with this employee name, I can join both the tables together. Okay. So that is foreign key. It links one table to the another. Okay. Next up, we have database administrator. This is the person who will develop and maintain the entire database or collection of data. They establish controls to protect the integrity. So when we view this in a small sole proprietor's perspective, you'll not understand the importance of this. Okay, assume companies like, as I told you, Amazon and Flipkart. How difficult it will be to manage their data. They would obviously require some controls, and they obviously require data integrity. Data integrity means you will come to know the data was entered by whom and whose data is being entered and what is the time they entered the data and is it valid or not. Okay, and it should also be accurate, whatever data is being entered. All these combined, we call it as data integrity. Okay, then only database administrator can create, update, and modify the database. Then use data definition language to structure the database. So we manually they don't enter all the data. They have their own program language using which they will structure the database. They will create the database, they will manage it, and they will structurize it using a program language. Then schema and subschema. So what is the schema and subschema in the sense? Schema in the sense overall database structure. So what is the overall structure in which database is maintained? Subschema in the sense, let us say for example, Amazon's entire company's data sheet or database, that is called as schema. And I want to know only Amazon's India branch details. So that will be subschema. Users limited view on the database. So as if I am the manager of Amazon India branch, I will be getting the subschema, only the limited data to view. Okay, schema is the overall data. Subschema is what you get, the segment of schema that you need to analyze. Okay, then comes access control. Database administrator determines who can access which data and he enforces the data. Not everybody will get the authorization for accessing all the data of the company. So whatever data I can access according to my job position, only that data will be given access to me. Okay. So next up, yeah. So what is database management system? So this database management system, it's a comprehensive management system where starting from how you enter the data into database and how you analyze them, how you manage them, and till how you retrieve the data. Everything is included in database management system. Okay. So these are some of the functions of DBMS that we need to know. First up, interface rule, the software package between the user and database. So now, as a user, I want to store some massive data. Okay, and I don't want to complicate it so much. Okay, so now, and into the database, I will want to enter all these data. Database management system will help the user in order to update their database. That's a sort of language that we use between user and database. Okay, we usually use SQL. Then it creates, maintains, safeguards, and makes data available to the user. Okay, then comes database development. Again, we studied about the schema and subschema. It will help us by giving proper structures. It will help us to create the database in an easy way. Then comes database maintenance. Okay, so here we will be using data manipulation languages such as SQL. Okay, and why do we use this data manipulation language? Now, if I need to perform some operations in DBMS, so now I will have to convey to this database in using this data manipulation language. Okay, so we need to know this language to insert the data, to delete or update the statements. So usually in users statements, when they say, it will be converted into machine language and the performance will be done. Okay, so that is data manipulation language. Then comes database interrogation. Okay, so why do we maintain this database? We will need to know something about the company. To gain some knowledge about the company itself, we will maintain this database, isn't it? So here, we will use the SQL language again to get the information from our database systems, whatever we have maintained. So what is this database interrogation in the sense? I will have many questions, okay, such as what was the sales for the previous year? And I will have some various analytical needs. I need to ask questions to this database and I need to get the answers from it. Okay. And as it is a massive amount of database, I can't analyze it completely by myself. Okay. Now what do? We'll use this SQL language and we will get the results out of the data. Whatever question I ask to the database through this SQL language, it will be giving me the proper answers. That is database interrogation. Then comes application development. Programming languages are embedded in DBMS. It is used to develop custom business applications. Yes, DBMS, now it is enabling the businesses to customize their applications. Okay, based on their needs of database services, they can customize these applications to use the DBMS. Okay. Yes. So next up, it is about the enterprise resource planning. Okay. So what is ERP? Yeah. So ERP is, it will give us a centralized data. Okay. So I'll give you one example. Now we need to manage an organization. Okay. As a CEO, I need to manage an organization. So what do? I buy some ERP softwares. That is enterprise resource planning. The software, I'll bring it. I'll purchase the software. Then what do? I will have the control of the entire ERP. Centralized control will be with me. As a CEO, I need to know the summary of each and every department. That is my requirement. Okay, we call it as a dashboard. In dashboard, you will come to know what and all performance has happened. What is the summary of all the departments? Through the dashboard, you will come to know. The dashboard access will be with CEO. Okay, now what I will do in this ERP, I will have the access to permit the departments to start entering their data into ERP. For sales department, I'll give limited access to enter their data. Similarly, for all the other departments, I'll give them access to whatever data they need to enter. Okay, when all of them input the data, calculations will be automated. Calculations such as ending inventory calculation and your economic order quantity calculations, how many sales orders are there and how many orders are distributed, how many orders are still pending, how much raw materials you will have to order, every data in a summarized way, the CEO will be able to see it. Okay, so this is ERP. It's a software integrating core business processes into one system with a single database. Okay, it will interrelate all the departments together. Sales, production, purchase, HR, inventory, everything together, they will integrate and give a centralized database to the tone at the top. Okay, what are the advantages of ERP? Better customer service, because you need not break your head for entering all the data individually, for calculating ending inventories, for calculating EOQ, and for calculating how many sales order needs to be satisfied. No, all the data will be readily available. Okay, so it helps us. Suppose customer is supposed to order 100 units and I still have only 90 units present in the company. I'll rush up and produce the 10 more products that is required. Like this, we will understand the business entirely properly, will understand. Better customer service can be given. Then it reduces IT costs. Okay, so IT costs in the sense information technology costs. As everything is taken care by a software, IT costs will be reduced. Then real-time information access for employees. Yes, it works on a real time. When a sales department enters their data, immediately, whatever reflection it has to give in production and purchase department, it will happen automatically. Real-time information you can get. Then business processes monitorable through dashboards. As I told you, CEO will have the dashboard control. Okay, all the business process they can plan and manage. And equally, we have the disadvantages as well. Business process reengineering is time consuming and requires careful planning. Now, when I need to convert my organization from a traditional system into a automated system, I require this business process reengineering, and BPR is a very time consuming and a complex process. At the same time, it will be expensive too. ERP softwares, they are very expensive. Okay. And one more important consequence is ERP systems as of now, they can't be customized. There are only few models of ERP. If it is suitable for the company, then only it will be beneficial. They can't customize it according to their needs as of now. Okay. Then it's costly to implement, obviously. And suppose I integrate this enterprise resource planning into my company, and now if it doesn't work well, then I will again face huge consequences, huge failures. Then ongoing costs after implementation. Yeah. So these ERP systems, to manage them, so these softwares, in order to manage them, and from time to time you will have to spend incur some expenses for their implementation, and also for services or whatever further costs that are required for managing ERP, you will have to incur that. So that's ongoing costs after implementation. Okay. So next up, the important topic is about the data warehouse, data mart, and data lake. Okay. Yes. So we've been speaking about Amazon and Flipkart, isn't it? So assume Amazon. There will be millions of customers who place the orders, and at the same time, there will be millions of products that are there in the Amazon platform, isn't it? And upon that, they will also collect review from the customers, isn't it? And the how customers give their review, in they use so many languages. Some of them use Hindi, some of them English, some of them Kannada. So they will be using the combination of languages in giving their reviews. Okay. And also, some of them share the images of the product, whatever they felt. They'll share their review through images. Some of them also upload videos, isn't it? Now, when you see this huge, massive data that we are getting at Amazon, okay, all of this will be stored initially in one of its place, which is called as data warehouse. Okay, all sorts of historical data and entire data of Amazon company will be stored in one place. That's its data warehouse. Okay. So now it's a read-only memory, because that's the data that you're collecting from your customers, from your suppliers, from products. So now it's a read-only memory. Nobody can go and change the data that we have collected. But at the same time, it's very hard for any given person without any business intelligence tool to get the data properly, to get some meaning out of data warehouse. It requires a lot of skills, and it is possible only through a data scientist who uses proper business intelligence tool. Okay. And here, data that is going into warehouse must be error free. It should be uniformly defined and covers a long time of period. Now, data lake. So data lake, what happens is, assume collecting review for one particular product of Amazon. In data warehouse, everything, all sorts of information is present in data warehouse. Now, you take one particular product. Let us say it's HP laptops. Okay, HP laptops, there are a lot of customers who purchase from Amazon. And for this HP laptop product, I have received reviews. Okay, and again, what's the problem with reviews? It will be star rating will vary, and at the same time different languages people will be using for giving their reviews, and you can receive the reviews also in the form of images, videos, and a lot of things, right? Even for one single product, it's becoming very complex. Okay, so data lake contains such information, and it's a storage system for unstructured data. And again, we require data scientists to analyze this information, and it will be updated by the database administrator. Okay, what database administrators are doing? So this administrator is collecting information of one product, from data warehouse and he is putting it into data lake. Okay. Then comes data mart. Okay. So this data mart is a subsection of data warehouse. So we can say that it could be a data that relates to one particular department. Okay. So here it provides access only to a permitted set of data security for sensitive data. So now what happens? Data mart, suppose let's assume only for the production department we are getting the information. Okay. This access will be given only to the production department manager. And data mart, they usually contain structured data. They can also contain the unstructured data. Mostly structured data will only be there in data mart. If it is a structured data, we can analyze it easily. Structured data is nothing but proper data segregation will be there and tabulated data will be there. That's a structured data. Then there are two forms of data mart, dependent and independent. Dependent. So here data will be drawn from data warehouse, and independent in the sense departments for themselves, they'll be creating the data mart. They'll be creating their own database, which is called as a data mart. Specifically, the departments, they themselves, if they create, that's independent. If they derive the data from data warehouse, that's dependent. Then comes enterprise performance management. Okay. So what is performance? It relates to core activities of the business, isn't it? So starting from our strategic planning till implementation, all what happens is organization's performance. And again, this organization's performance, you will have to manage it properly in order to improve their efficiency and effectiveness and to keep them suited to the current business environment and technology. Continuously, we need to manage the performance as well. So that happens through enterprise performance management. Strategic plans and objectives must be clearly communicated to managers. Clarity of thought should be there for everybody in a firm. Then periodic performance reviews are required and adjustments needed if not performing as planned. Suppose your performance management isn't working well. You need some adjustments to make it work as per the plan. Okay, so is everybody clear with data warehouse, data lake, and data mart? All five of you? Okay. Yeah. So next up, we need to discuss about the data governance and data life cycle. Yes. So data governance. Now we came to know how important and how difficult it will be for companies to manage their massive data. And in order to maintain a proper, 1 minute guys. Okay. And to manage the data properly, we need data governance. And in some countries, these data governance techniques, whatever we study now, it's made a compulsion that they have to follow it. Okay, there will be a legal requirement. For example, European Commission. So they will have they have the compulsion that companies need to follow data governance compulsorily. Okay, and there are 8 components under the data governance. Okay, so first up, what is data governance? The practices, procedures, processes, and technology for overall management of data sheets and data flows. That means, in simple words, how you collect the data and how you manage the data. And in order to make it legal and ethical, what are the steps that we need to follow? Okay, now first up, data availability. Making data available to users and apps when and where needed. Okay, so the best example for this is the financial reports of the company. They will have to make the data available for both of their internal and external users of financial information. That is data availability. Then data usability. Okay, so you will have to give the access of the data to required personnel. Okay, according to the authorization they have, you can give them the access for using. So data usability will have accessibility, quality, and accuracy of the data should be maintained. That is what data usability says. What data integrity says. Okay, data integrity says it specs for what data to enter, which field, when, by whom, from which source, and control structures. That means starting from what data you need to enter and in which place you will have to enter, and what is the quality of data that you need to maintain, and by whom data is being entered. Everything, pin to pin, every data you will be having as to what data was entered, by whom, why, and everything. That is data integrity. Okay. Suppose there is any problem that occurs with any customer's data, you will easily come to know who to hold accountable for, who to ask for. So that is about data integrity. Then data security. So prevention of unauthorized access. Security, we all know. Unauthorized person should not have access to the data, and protection from corruption and losses. Later, data privacy. Who is authorized to access the data, and which specific items each person can access. That's privacy. Not everybody can access all information, all confidential information of a firm. Only certain people can access it to maintain data privacy. Then data integration. So data integration in the sense combining data from internal and external sources for a unified view. Okay, we'll take an example of Amazon again. Now, if you need to look at a department's performance, how do you evaluate it? You will take their internal data. What are the products that they have sold to how many customers? Internal data you will collect. Okay, and you need to get a feedback about their services, right? For that, you will collect data from external sources. From your customers, you will collect feedback. Now you will combine both this internal performance data and external feedback data, and you will integrate this data. So why are we integrating? To measure the performance of this department. That is data integration. Then system availability, maximizing the probability that system functions are required when required. That means system availability in the sense, whenever you need some information or whenever you need to enter some data or perform some data operations, system should be available. Computer systems and the internet services should be available for you. That is what system availability says. And system maintenance, modifications to correct problems, improve performance, update or adapt to changed requirements. Yeah. So if there are any problems that you found in your systems, system maintenance is required. You need to correct those problems, improve the performances, and update or adapt to the changed requirements. That is what we do in system maintenance. Okay. So next up, data life cycle. Okay. So this data life cycle, from creating the data, from purging the data, that means permanently deleting the data, is known as purging. Okay. Now, first up, data capture. So one thing that we need to be clear is about, whenever we are collecting the data, we should check the source from which we are collecting the data. That should be an authorized source from whichever we are collecting the data. So here, data capture, it will be either creating new data through data entry or through the signal reception and acquisition from another source. These are various forms where you can capture the data. Then data qualifying, whatever data you have collected, right? So you need to check it for its required quality and completeness. Okay. Suppose you're not getting a complete information, then how would you use that information? If you have got only half communicated information, how do you use it further? That will be a problem. So you need to qualify the data. Only what data you are sure that they are complete and their quality is good. That will be qualifying this step. Then data maintenance. Data maintenance in the sense, when you receive the data, there are some operations such as cleaning the data, arranging the data properly, integrating them. All of this is data maintenance. Whenever you get a unstructured data, especially, you will have to segregate it. So images should be segregated differently, and your text should be segregated differently, videos segregated differently, and all of them should be cleaned data. That means none of the unwanted data should be there. All information what we have acquired should be proper and reliable. That's data maintenance. Then transformation and synthesis. Okay, so synthesis in the sense you will update the quality of the data that you have got. You'll just upgrade the information so that it turns into a usable format. So transformation and or synthesis in the sense creating new values from existing data. You'll analyze the data and derive some meaning out of it. That's synthesis. Then comes data utilization. So you will use this data, whatever you got, for the analysis purposes. You will apply the data to task for decision support informations, then for your products or services. Applying the data to tasks.